if my parents don't even love me, why the heck should I love me, or why should anybody else? It really took away my sense of like, I have a home, I belong somewhere. And so I think I spent so much time of my teens and even my 20s just trying to figure out where I belong. I don't belong anywhere. Nobody wants me. I don't want me. What's the point?
Welcome to Intrepid Storytelling, where the brave, the courageous, the dauntless, and the resolutely fearless share their journeys of hope, grit, and transformation. These are the voices of the valiant, those who dare to rise, to dream, and to tell their truth out loud. Because every story has the power to inspire, and yours just might change the world. I'm your host, Deanna Powell. I'm so excited to introduce a very special guest, Cierra Madill, and she is a photographer, videographer for weddings and events. That's her main gig. But I met her through a content creation group. And so she's a new friend of mine, but I instantly clicked with her, and I relate so much to so many things that she has shared online. And just in the short time that I have known you online, I just adore you. I love everything you stand for, everything you share. And you are a a singer-songwriter. I think
Yes.
that's kind of like the mashup of singer-songwriter. You're a songer.
Albeit.
I love it. And so you have so many talents. You're very artistic, very creative.
Thank
then
you.
you also launched a brand new podcast, which is another thing we have in common, called Tell No One But the Internet, which I think is such a cool thing because you let people share something that they would never share. And so it's kind of like incognito, but then you are sharing some of the things that maybe stories that people are kind of afraid to tell on the internet. So you'll get to talk a little bit more about that later, but I just think that you're amazing. And I think you have a pretty powerful story to share with us today. So I'm just going to let you talk. I'm going to ask you questions along the way, but I'll just let you share as much or as little as you want, but feel free to be open and just share from your heart. Okay.
Okay. I'm an open book, so I'm ready.
Me too. Okay. Another thing we have in common.
There it is.
Okay. I love it. So, why do you want to share your story? What sort of let's put some intention behind your sharing today.
For one, I think first and foremost, it will be really good for me. I don't think I've ever sat down and shared my story. You know, I've been to therapy multiple times. I've had multiple friends where we've sat and talked, but I've never sat and just been like, hey, you know what, this is me. So I think it'll be really good for me. I also think there's a lot of people and there's a lot of connections I've made where we have very similar stories, and especially online, what I hear the most is I am so alone, but I think we are all so much more alike than we realize. And so I think being able to get on and use this platform and to share my story to make people not feel so alone, that is also very powerful. So,
You know, and what I have learned in hearing so many people's stories is that, wow, there's a lot more people that have gone through the same things than I ever thought.
Yeah, which is so sad. So sad, but it's also comforting in a way to be like, okay, I'm not the only one as alone as I felt, you know? So
yeah,
it's a blessing and a gift. It's a curse and a gift.
Yeah, it's a journey. It's a journey. I mean, life sucks. And so, but that's a lot of another thing that we all kind of have in common, you know, because we're like, wow, this is not fun.
Yeah, I really feel like
yeah, go ahead.
I really feel like everyone has something, and if they don't, they're lying. So that's what it is.
Agreed. And the more honest we can be with each other, the more connected we can feel to each other.
100%.
Yeah. Cool. Well, so tell me how you grew up. Where were you born? What was your childhood like?
I was born in Bountiful, Utah. And
Oh.
from there, I mean, that moment forward, I was just bouncing about. I grew up a little bit in Idaho, a little bit in Vermont, a little bit in New York, and then I came back here. I always bounced back and forth. So when I was 3, my parents got divorced. My mom remarried my stepdad. My dad remarried my stepmom. And so for a lot of years, I was just back and forth between my mom and my dad. And my dad traveled wherever his work took him. So he was out, moving the states, and I was just from Utah back and forth. So I was really close to my siblings for a little while. And then I really, truly feel like my stepmom kind of dug a wedge in that because we did not get along. So while I was the oldest of 9, I grew up as a single child. Yeah, I grew up as a single child because all of my siblings were with my mom, my stepmom, and my dad, and I moved back with my mom in Utah. So I grew up really close to my mom's family, my grandma, my aunts, and my uncles. I lived there for a little while. And we're all also very close in age. And so I get along really, really well with my aunts. So I kind of grew up here, there, and everywhere, but just kind of doing my own thing, kind of floating around the existence of what we call Earth, I guess.
Wow.
So,
Wow. And you're the oldest of all 9 of your siblings?
yep, I'm the oldest of 9.
I'm the oldest. So did you feel like a kind of like a responsibility, or did you ever feel like you were the bossy older sister? How did you sort of relate
When
to your siblings?
So when I was with my dad and my stepmom, I definitely was put in charge a lot when it came to babysitting, or my parents would fight and then just disappear for a while and it would just be us. And so, but I really do feel like I was trying to find the word, like lack of a better word, like it was taken from me. The ability to
Parentification.
grow, kind of, or like the ability to grow up near my siblings because I was always here in Utah with my mom, with nobody else. It was just me, my mom, and my stepdad, and all of my siblings were in New York. And so while I craved that connection, I mean, my stepmom wouldn't even let them be my friend on Facebook. Like, we couldn't contact, we couldn't connect, we couldn't do anything. And to this day, I still will never understand why she had
Why?
such a hate for me. It's ridiculous to me, to be honest, and it actually makes
He
me
never
more.
told you? He never
No,
told you?
no, we don't speak.
Oh.
We do not speak. She has blocked me on Facebook. She doesn't which is fine at this point. Like, kudos to you, Chica. But like, she was never my mom. She was never a mom to me. She always had a divide between my siblings. And to be honest, it's so sad because after I left, it bounced from sibling to sibling who she decided to have hate for, And so it's like, Dad, what are you doing? And I think that's one of the things that hurts most is he just stayed and he almost supports it. It's like, and now he wonders why we don't connect. Oh, look at your
Yeah.
wife. Look at your wife. But so that was really hard being an older sibling. However, I was very much raised as a single child. I did a lot of things by myself. I was alone. I didn't, witness all of their graduations or their games, or nobody came to my games. Like, it was very much, I was an only child living with my mother.
I
So,
see.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so you've probably internalized a lot of the disconnect and all of that. As you kind of grew older and you were going to some of this stuff alone, what were some of the important relationships that you had besides your mom? And of course, are you still close to your mom?
No. So my
Mm.
mom actually passed in 2021. And so
Oh,
aside from, all of that garbage, I think the closest person I would have to say was my grandma on my mom's side. I mean, no matter where I've been, where I've lived, what I'm doing, like, she has always been there for me. And I lived with her for many years off and on growing up. And so I think if I had to pick one person, I would 100% pick my grandma. So,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then how did you feel sort of about yourself Do you kind of, now that you're a little bit older, you look back, do you feel like it made you stronger, more determined, or did it kind of feel
Mm,
like you had this like bad self-talk talking to you in the back? What do you
Um,
think about
to be
um
honest, I think maybe a little bit of everything. I'm definitely resilient, but you don't really get resilient unless you have to. You're forced to be resilient, you know. I didn't want to be resilient at 7, you know, and I shouldn't
Yeah.
have had to been, you know. And so I think a lot, I mean, I've at this point, I've gone to therapy. I have spent some time in a mental health rehab. I've done a lot of processing on all of this stuff, and as a child, I forgive you. That's fine. But as a parent, I will never understand. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to be honest, I don't want to. I don't want to. But I've worked so hard to try and get past that it's like I
Yeah.
have no words, to be honest.
Yeah. You get to a certain age, especially and then when you have kids and you go, okay, like I can go back and try to like think about that stuff and I've moved on. I don't need to explain myself anymore. I have my boundaries. I'm in my safe place. I'm, like
Yeah.
let's move on sort
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think that that's healthy,
Yeah,
that
I'm doing
place.
my best. It is hard, but I do think it did take a big toll on my self-esteem. And out of all of the people in the world, you really want your parents are supposed to love you the most. And I feel like when it came down to it, none of them did. Even, you know, we'll get into my mom later, but even when it came down to it, so I was like, if my parents don't even love me, why the heck should I love me, or why should anybody else? Like
Mhm.
that ran through my head a lot. And as I bounced from place to place, it really took away my sense of like, I have a home, I belong somewhere. And so I think I spent so much time of, you know, my teens and even my 20s just trying to figure out where I belong. So like I don't
Mhm.
belong anywhere, nobody wants me, I don't want me. What's the point? You know, so
Yeah,
that did affect me greatly.
I hear you. And I can relate to some of that. I think that when you feel like you exist for the benefit, not the benefit, but the purpose of somebody else's life, like
Hmm.
what's my worth? Where does my worth come from? From your feelings about me or the way that I behave to make you look a certain way, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I always kind of felt like an embarrassment to my family as from a very young child.
I
And I
get
don't know,
that.
did you grow up religious at all?
Um, yes and no. My family, half of my family is LDS, half of them are not. At this point, I chose to leave the church. And so I did grow up in it. I'm very familiar with the LDS religion. But I chose that I was happier out of it. But I did grow up in it.
Hmm. Well, it's easy to do when you're in Utah because I think it's just a part of the culture.
It is. It's everywhere here.
Yeah.
You can assume and be like 95% right every time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, like when more than half of your neighborhood is doing family home meetings on Monday night or
On Monday
whatever, it's
night.
like, okay, well, that's where everybody is, whether
Yeah.
you are LDS or not.
Yep.
Yeah. That's funny because I have a lot of Mormon friends. I grew up uh, with Mormon friends in my neighborhood. I grew up in Northern California and then Washington State, most of my life in Washington State. But like even in my neighborhood, there were like lots of LDS kids and dances and stuff I used to go to. And I can relate to that. So let's move into sort of like your young adult. Do you have any like significant memories of favorite memories and then maybe some that were hard that shaped sort of what your worldview became?
I don't know. I as skewed as my relationship was with my dad and, you know, my siblings, my stepmom, I really try um I mean, I feel like the moment we got home when I was there, we'd be outside, especially in New York. We lived way upstate. It was beautiful. We had like woods surrounding our house for miles and miles, and we could walk, 20 minutes either way and find a creek or a bridge to jump off of into the river, and so I really did like that. We were very adventurous. We kind of just did whatever we wanted to do. Um, so we were always outside. We were always playing with each other. And then here, I say here in Utah, kind of with my mom, I, again, was kind of alone, but I was always with my friends. I was always out and about doing something. I was rarely ever home. And so I do feel like I definitely got a good hand of experiences. Um,
Mhm.
we did a lot of family vacations, a lot of camping, four-wheeling, stuff like that. Some of those are my favorite. My favorite used to be Bear Lake. Excuse me. Once a year, we'd go with our family. We'd rent a big cabin and we'd stay. The water would be beautiful, and that was just so fun. And a couple years back, we've kind of transitioned to Lake Powell now, but that is still one of my favorite memories. And I'm 30 at this point, so we're still doing that, still going strong. So
That's awesome. Yeah. And when you
yeah,
grow up with some of those really fun, like especially the outdoor activities and those memories that you childhood memories, and then
yeah.
you're like, oh, got to give my kids the same experience. So it's cool that you carry on those really fun traditions.
Yes, and my kids love them too. And then I don't know, that was just kind of like in general growing up. But when I was about 14, my mom and my stepdad got a divorce as well. My mom, I'd like to hope that it wouldn't have always happened, but when my mom was like 23, 24, she got really, really sick. She got Crohn's disease, and she was actually in the ICU for a couple months. And I really think that's where she started like a pill addiction for like pain pills and a muscle relaxers. I would like to hope that's where it started. But when I was 14, they got divorced. I ended up moving in with my aunt, and my mom just disappeared. So she was an addict. She did. And my aunt, this was crazy to me finding out later. I actually just found this out a couple years ago, but my aunt knew that I was coming to live with her. However, I did not. I had no idea that that was the plan. And so my mom just took me to my aunt's house. I was under the impression, I knew her and my dad had been fighting. Also, I just want to clarify, my stepdad is the best parent I've ever had. And so I call him dad. And so I don't want that to get confusing, but probably from here on out, I might just call him dad and maybe my biological dad, Brandon, because now I'm saying dad so much, but I'm talking about two different people. So I just feel the need to say that. But from now on, dad is my stepdad, Brandon is my biological dad. Um,
Okay.
so they had been fighting, her and my dad, and obviously I'm not going to be there while they're fighting, So I got dropped off to my aunt's house and she just never came back for me. I didn't hear from her for like 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years, and nobody knows where she went.
Oh my
She
gosh.
she ended up being homeless. She was, doing drugs and just so deep into that it just kind of came out of left field. I knew she was doing some sketchy stuff, but I didn't think it would affect me that deeply. And then it did. And so that's essentially when my mom left my life, was when I was 14. She was homeless from there on out. So that was really
Oh,
hard. But my aunt was an amazing parent. She had never parented a teen before. She had young kids of her own. And so for her to just, scoop me up and take me in, me and my cute little duffel bag, um, it was very amazing. So I think that was really hard for me. That was the first time that I had been placed somewhere where it wasn't between parents, even though I had moved around a lot. But I joined choir. I was in a play. I had a lot of good friends. I was going to church at the time with my aunt. We were very close to family. And so I feel like that was the first time I had like a family, a home that I could call home, and it was so good. And
stability.
yes, yes,
Stability. Yeah.
Yes, and until I messed it up. So that's how I do. But there's this one
Well,
night.
now wait a second. Wait. Pause. Now you'll talk about that
Oh,
a little
100%.
bit. Yeah. Now, but I just wanted to pause that because it's hard. I think as a teenager, and then we have to look back and go, a lot of that's not your fault,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
just because might have made a decision or made some kind of a mistake or whatever, your actions might have messed something up, that a lot of it had to do with, you know, some trauma that you went through, right?
It it oh, 100%, but
Yeah.
I was, a turd nonetheless. So
Well, we all are. And I can honestly admit I was no, cakewalk teenager either. Although
It
compared
was
to a
rough.
lot of people out there, people would say, "Oh yeah, I was like squeaky clean."
They're
But yeah,
lying. They're lying. They
yeah.
just didn't get caught.
I had a very strong will. That's what my parents will tell you. I had a very strong will. And see, now I look back and go, well, I'm glad I had that, because look
Yeah.
at me now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure I wasn't some perfect, easy child to raise either. So, but okay, so that's amazing that your aunt just was like, here, come. And the difference probably between your mom and your aunt's life was probably drastically different.
That was kind of hard, to be honest, but yes,
Yeah.
it was. It was drastic.
For your grandma, right? Probably looking at, I've had these two kids that are just so different
Well,
from each other.
especially for my grandma. I mean, all of her kids are very different. So, I'm
Yeah.
sure. But it was really hard going from a non-religious household to a very religious household.
Mm.
Especially that was very hard for me because, as I did go to church with them, but I just didn't like it. And so some days I was like, I don't want to
Hmm.
go to church. But at the same time, I was now the oldest child of their family and an example for their kids. And it was really important to them that they were raised in the church. And so I think we did get at each other's throats a little bit about religion because I wasn't into it. And so
Hmm.
I did go. I did make friends. I had friends in the ward, which was fine. But one day I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And yeah, so there were definitely
Was
pros and
it that you
cons.
didn't want, was it that you were like, I'm not into this, all the rules, all the routine? Or was it that, like, I have too many questions and I just don't believe this stuff?
Mm,
What was
I
it?
I have always just felt, I don't know what it is. I think it'd be the same as somebody talking about the church. Like they just know it to be true.
Hmm.
I feel like I know it to be not. I don't know how else to describe it, but I feel so much more happy and secure with myself and my life, not thinking about a God or not thinking about the church. And when I sit and think about it and I try to make sense of my brain and I'm like, okay, maybe there is, maybe there isn't, like it just it gives more anxiety than good. And I'm just like, I'm not about to do that to myself
Yeah.
again. And so, people are like, oh, you can always use a little God in your life. And I mean, I will go to Relief Society activities. I think it's fun. I think the community is great. I will listen to you talk about God. I will do temple weddings because I think it's a beautiful thing. It's just not something that aligns with my life. And I have come to be sound with that.
Yeah. I can
So,
relate to that. I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine just about that, just very thing.
yeah,
Like sometimes when you're boxed in a little bit, but you have this love and you want to love abundantly, but you
yeah,
have rules about who you can love and how you can love and all this other stuff. It's like, no, I don't want those rules.
yeah,
I want to just love
yeah,
everybody, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. So I get that totally
I
100%.
also, I don't know, just it's bouncing off of the religion. I also really cringe when people are like, oh, God has brought you through this. And I'm like, no, he hasn't. he didn't bring me through anything. Like, I have worked hard. I
Yeah.
have brought myself through this, and I am not about to place the torch and give it to Jesus because I'm sorry. I respect what everybody believes. I respect religion. I have worked way too hard in my life to give credit to anybody other than me. Like,
Yep.
that is how I feel about it. And it was me. I did it.
Yeah. Yep.
And I
You
did
did
it
it.
by myself. So,
You did it. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. 100%, because to discredit what you've done and the work you've done is just, it's not fair. It's not
No.
fair. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because you said cringe, but so do I. I totally like, you're like
It's
speaking
true.
all the words that I have, like all the things that I internalize. You're just saying all the things. Okay. Well, that's very cool. Well, so as you kind of come into your young adult life, did you stay at home? Like, when did you move out of your aunt's house, or
So,
how'd you kind
ugh,
of enter adulthood?
this is kind of where crazy Sierra enters, I guess. PTSD or whatever, but so my mom ended up coming back to my grandma's house. She just kind of showed up, and my grandma, that poor woman, is way too good for her own good, so she let my mom in. And she had called me, and when I tell you the feelings that like overtook my body when I pick up the phone and it's my mother who, one, abandoned me a year and a half ago, and two, asking me if I want to come live at my grandma's with me, like with no other explanation. And I think that was one of the hardest things. Was it was like there was no time every single time between when we would see each other. It was just like, hey, how's your day going? And I'm like, actually my last 3 years have been great, but thanks for asking. So I was shook, and I actually ran away. I left the phone on the back porch and I disappeared. At the time, I had gone to a young women leader's house. We were very close. She had been struggling with some infertility at the time. She, had her own struggles, and I don't know. I was just also really struggling, and a lot of people didn't like that we were friends, but I couldn't imagine. I don't think I would have made it without her, to be honest. So I'm glad we were friends. And I ran to her house and I told her, I was like, I'm leaving, like I'm running away. And, being the responsible adult she was, she put me in her car and took me home to my aunt's house and called my aunt and let her know. And so she got out of the car to talk to my aunt, and I booked it out the passenger side and I ran away, like from both of them. Anyways, the cops looked for me all night long. I ended up sitting in a apartment complex at the top floor, just in the stairwell where I could see. I mean, I could see the cops like trailing my neighborhood and whatnot. And it was so awful. But I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to get sent back to my mom's. I didn't want to see my mom at this point. And so I ended up passing out in the snow. It was snowy, and they found me on the side of the road, and they took me to the hospital. And I had kind of like was in and out, but to be honest, as I grow up, I definitely was dissociating like 100% because I don't remember most of this day. Anyways, I had like faked unconscious. I don't know. I was in and out, so I think I was just gone at that point. But for 18 hours, they couldn't wake me up. But there was nothing medically wrong with me. So they couldn't figure out what was going on. And so
Oh,
they ended up admitting me to the psych ward. And I stayed in the psych ward for like 5 weeks. I ended up in Salt Lake Behavioral Health, and I got out on my birthday, on my 16th birthday was
wow.
when I was released. So I was there through Christmas. I was there. It was, yeah, and that was my first ever like time in the psych ward. And
Do you remember? Okay, because I really believe that you must have a strength that grew from that moment. Even though, okay, there's dissociation, there's the psych ward for 5 weeks.
yeah,
During that time, there's something in you that builds, and I call it Intrepid, but there's something that you have to come back to, some of that strength that you built during that time when you go through something else, right? Like for me, it was when I hit rock bottom and I had like suicidal ideation in jail. Fast forward to another hard time you go through and you're like, I've been through worse. I can get through this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that
I think it's kind of resilience. It's kind of resilience.
Yes.
And to be honest, I learned quickly how to be a track star. I mean, you know, but I think
that's hilarious. I'm sorry. That's so funny.
Dark humor gets me through my life, and so I will be humorous at times that I absolutely should not be, but that is who I am, so I will remain.
That is so funny, though. That's good. And then also like knowing where the good hiding spots are.
Yep. Until you dissociate and, you know, give away your space. You're no longer a ninja when you can't choose who you're being. But I really think definitely resilience and some form of strength, but I grew angry. I think a lot of my childhood was based and was just anger. And on top of that, you know, probably even beneath that was sadness, but I think I was way over sadness at this point. It was just like, why? You know, and so I was definitely angry. And then to make it worse, they sent me home to live with my mom. I did not get sent home.
You were trying to escape.
Yes. I did not get sent home to be with my aunt.
Oh, man.
So
do you know why? Why would they do that?
No, I don't know. I think it was just my mom. My aunt had no legal say over me. You know, technically, I think it came to legal stuff. My mom and my stepdad. So at this time, I think I got a little ahead of myself. So my parents had been fighting. I left. My mom left. Whatever. My mom is like, come back. But now my parents get divorced. My mom and my dad. And me and my mom moved across the street in with her friend. And it was kind of awkward for me because I was bouncing back and forth between across the street and where I had lived. Like, so I was like, I'm just kind of over this. And so they ended up getting a divorce, separating. Somewhere in the mix, I ended up moving in with my grandma. It's really hard for me because a lot of my childhood is black and a lot of things I just don't remember. And so as skippy about as I sound, like that is how it is in my head. So I don't know, but I definitely was resilient, and it would have been 10th grade that I ended up back with my grandma because I ended up dropping out that year. So that was,
Wow. So your trauma response is flight. Is it?
To be honest, I think it depends on what is going on because I am a big fighter. I am a big yeller, and I am big on, we need to handle this right this second, because if it's not handled right now, my brain is going to handle it for me and it's going to tell me all these things. And so I want it to get it done. Like, I'd rather hash it out and be done than sit and wait on it. So
I get that.
I get that. I definitely think I am a fighter, but then I will flight and not even turn back.
So in 10th grade, you dropped out. What was your next step then?
Yeah. So I lived with my mom and my grandma. And then again, my mom just disappeared. She was stealing from my grandma. She stole a lot of money. This was not confirmed, but you know what? We know it was her. Sorry, Mom. I gotcha. But she stole a lot of money from my uncle. He was living with us at the time. And she like racked up his credit card, like just, and then disappeared. Went to Colorado, she says, and she was gone for years at this point. Like, that was essentially really the last time I had ever, but I mean, she was getting high all the time. She was talking to the curtains. She almost set my grandma's house on fire. She was just not, like, there was a whole suitcase of, and all these things that she was going to use to try and make meth. And I was like, Mom, not in my bedroom, but here we are, so I don't know.
Mm.
It was hard. And so I didn't really have, I think I kind of turned more of like, you know what? Well, I don't need parents. I'm going to do whatever the F I want to do, whenever I want to do it. And so I thought I was like all that and a bag of chips. And I dropped out of school. I got a full-time job at Taco Time, making $7.25 an hour. And all I did was play video games. I went to work, I came home, I played video games, and I did that for like a year and a half, 2 years. Yeah, it would have been through 11th grade. I started sleeping around a lot. I ended up having this guy that I met. My mom would take me to bars, which was insane to me. But like at the time, I liked it. You know, like you want to feel included. You want to do crazy things. But my mom actually took me to bars a lot when I was younger, and super illegal, super crazy, but they weren't as, like, they didn't have the scanners back then. I don't know. This would have been like 14 years ago at this point. And so she would hop in with her ID. We'd wait, you know, a hot minute. I'd take her ID from under the or over the fence on the back patio, and then I'd go right in. And I felt like the to be honest. I don't know. I just did.
How is that? Because I mean, we used to do that, but it would be friends. I can't imagine your mom doing that.
To be honest,
did you ever really look at your mom as your mom, or did you look at her
no,
as more of a friend?
I think we were more of friends, but at the same time, like it was never like a nurturing, like I'm going to take care of you friendship, like parentalship. I don't know the word, but like I could tell her anything and she would never judge me. Yeah. But I didn't need that as a kid. I needed a parent. I didn't need a friend. And so while I was so grateful for that, I could literally tell her anything. We had no secrets. But that's just not what I needed. And at the time, it felt good. It felt great to have, you know, a cool druggy mom. You know, like I get so frustrated with her and so embarrassed all at the same time. But I mean, we had good conversations. I could tell her anything. I wasn't even afraid. But I ended up seeing this guy. So I met a guy at the bar, which I'm not even going to say his name because it's so illegal. But we started sleeping together. And he knew I was too young to be there. He knew it. There was just no other way. A lot of things happened that night. There was crazy, I don't know, just crazy things. Like barely turned 17. So not even close to 21. Like not even close. But it was a crazy night. And I ended up going home with him that night. I ended up leaving the bar with this guy. And at the time, I was grateful because there was another guy who was just kind of all over me, was touching me in places I just didn't want to be touched. And it was just kind of, it was a bad experience for me, my last underage bar experience. But this guy kind of intervened and was like, hey, what are you doing? You know, and he's like, you're not supposed to be here. And I'm like, no, I'm not. But, you know, while it felt like he was helping, he also like took me home to sleep with me. So I don't know what the difference was, but at the same time, I was very much willing. It doesn't make it any better that it happened. It was still very illegal, but I was willing. I left with him, and then we ended up sleeping together for a couple months, off and on. Like, it was kind of, I don't know what people would call like a sugar situation because
How old was he?
I think at the time he was like in his 30s.
Okay.
So
can I pause you there just for 1 second?
Please do.
Okay. Yeah, because we'll get back to that. But I want you to know I relate to this story, okay? So I'm just barely out of high school, and I graduated when I was 17. So, like, because I started school, like, kindergarten early, and then always just I was, like, the youngest person in my class, and one of the youngest people. Right out of high school, I did not go to college. I started working right away, full-time. And I was like, I'm out of here. Like, I needed to get out of my house because there was just way too many rules. And I'm an adult now. And I had just turned 18, literally just turned 18. And I got this job. It was back in the days where there were pagers. I'm a little bit older than you.
Good old pagers.
I know. Remember that? And so I was working at Star Paging and met a guy, and he was like the first person that ever like paid any attention to me, because my dad was the Bible teacher at a Christian school that I went to, 12 K through 12.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, like I had no boyfriends. My dad was super religious, and I was like very inexperienced with the world and what like people did, because I was very sheltered and you know. And so anyway, this guy, 30 years old, 3 kids, ex-Mormon, started hitting on me.
It. That sounds like a knight in shining armor to me.
You know, like, and I was very willing.
Yeah.
I was very willing. And if, you know, and yeah, he was who I lost my to, this 30-year-old who was, you know, hitting on a barely 18-year-old, you know. Now, I didn't actually like have him until I was 19, but he was grooming me all those, you know, all the year before. So I can just so relate to like you saying, well, I was willing, but listen, we were so naive, and there, you know, in many ways, I didn't even feel 18 when I was 18, because and it's just the same as I'm 49. I'm going to be 50 this year, and I only feel like I'm 30. In world experience and, you know, knowledge about your basic things that I never really learned growing up.
I feel the same. I feel very behind. So
stunted. Stunted by some of the traumas that you experienced. So like, okay, these guys definitely took advantage of you.
Oh yeah.
And you said you were willing. Yes. But then in some ways, just because you're willing does not take the ownership of the guy who did that to you.
It did not make it right.
Correct.
It was not forced upon me. So there, 2 things can be true at once.
That's true. That is true. And so I can relate. I just wanted you to know that that's part of your story. I can relate to. So
yeah. And that was not by any means like my first sexual experience. And so it had been that. Like I had been having with, you know, boyfriends for a long time. But yeah, he would just pick me up on the corner because we didn't want anyone to know I was going with him. He would take me shopping. He would take me out to eat. We would do whatever I wanted to do. And then we would have sex in his car. And then he would drop me off back at home. And to be honest, like it was like, it was so bad, but I enjoyed it. Like, I was getting attention. I was getting all of these new things. I was going out to eat wherever I wanted to go. Like, we could do whatever I wanted to do. And, I mean, this wasn't that great, but I think that's why he was paying for it. You know? Wow. I don't know. It just, but that's what I did. I did that for a couple months, and my mom knew about it. I talked to my mom about it because, again, that was our relationship. And you know, all she said was, he has really pretty eyes. And so she knew, but she didn't do anything. And, you know, looking back, I don't know if I did crazy things, because that's just who I am as a person. Because, you know, now even outside of this stupid parental umbrella, I still do crazy things. And so I truly do think that it's just who I am as a person. But I do think sometimes...
Let's do something here and just say, okay, crazy things, and it's who you are. And did it really hurt you? If it hurt you, then it was wrong. But if you feel like, okay, well, I kind of experienced a side of life that nobody really gets to experience, and I kind of look back on it as it was fun.
You know, and it was fun at the time, but like looking back, that was very much illegal. You know, like it was so bad. Yeah. But I think I tried to do a lot of different things to get maybe any sort of concern from my mom. You know, like I think I like went off on the edge a lot. I mean, like I started drinking right out of the hospital when I was like 16, which, you know, I grew up, my mom had drank, my dad would drink, and so I was comfortable with it. And I was not an alcoholic by any means, but me and my friends, you know, we'd have parties, we'd drink, we'd hang out. I was comfortable with that. I was comfortable sleeping with my boyfriends. You know, after I broke up with a boyfriend kind of longer term, I kind of slept around for a little bit. And so it was kind of a life I was comfortable with from the age of like 15 up, you know? And so I don't know if it was necessarily something that like felt good. I think I was just trying to maybe get any sort of reaction out of my parents, but I never did. So, but nobody else knew about that. Nobody knew about that guy. And now all of the internet does. But I was doing that. And
Surprise, family. Yeah, you
I
know
was
what,
doing
though?
that.
Again, like I say, I think that there will be a lot of people who can relate. I mean, I
Yeah.
can. I already
Oh, yeah.
told you. But two, just the fact that you're young, you're adventurous, you did it out of a kind of a need for, you know, just parental like concern. Can
Yeah,
anybody
and
just even show some concern for me? I
yeah,
think that a
and
lot of people will be able to relate that to that part of your story
yeah,
and be compassionate to you. And if they're going to leave comments in the comments in on YouTube,
let him
it's going to
swing.
be that,
I'm ready for him.
I
But
bet you they'll be more positive than they are any kind of negative at
yeah,
all.
which, you know, I'm never going to change regardless, but that was good for a hot minute. And then one day my dad called. It was like summer. It would have been the summer between 11th and 12th grade. I graduated in 2014, so it would have been 2013. Yay, I have a part of my timeline solidified. But he called and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean, Dad? You know, I'm living my life. I have a full-time job. I don't need school. I'm the hot right now." And he's like, "No, what are you doing?" And I was like, "I don't know, you know?" And he's like, "Okay, well, here's what you're going to do." He's like, "You are going to come live with me. You are going to go to school and you are going to graduate." And so I ended up moving back in with my dad. And at this time, it was just me and my stepdad. He had no reason to bring me back. He had no responsibility for me. He had no, he just did it out of the kindness of his heart. And I think that was the best thing any one of my parents ever did for me. Out of all four of my parents, the only parent who treated me like a child and gave me some sort of, tough loving was my dad. And so I ended up moving back with him. And in my 12th grade, I finished 10th, 11th online. I finished 12th grade in class and I graduated with my class in 2014.
Wow.
So I did not drop out. I did not have to get a GED completely. I graduated with my class, even missing 2
Were you
years
doing lots of
school.
extra credit work and stuff, or just like you were just like head down, nose to the grindstone?
Yeah, head down. I
Wow.
did. So they had this thing, I don't know what it's called elsewhere, but it was called eShore. And it was essentially like I could do classes in school, but also do like a period where I go to the library and I work on eShore stuff, which is online. And so online, I did all of my credits that were needed for 10th and 11th grade, but I couldn't be put behind in person. And so I was doing that while in 12th grade. And so they just shoved me into 12th grade and I did it. I knocked it out. I was in choir. I was in drama. I was doing really good things, and I finished school.
And how did it make you feel to do all
to
that?
be honest, like to graduate felt so good. One, it felt good to be done because I was over school, and two, it just I still to this day, excuse me, I still to this day will thank my dad. Like I would have not finished, and to be honest, I probably wouldn't have gotten a GED. I wouldn't have I have no idea where or what I would be if it wasn't for my dad. So
He believed
it
in
did
you.
feel good. And all that hard work definitely paid off because I graduated, but it was hard. I did nothing but work during school. But I mean, at the same time, I had a very small group of friends, quality, over quantity. And it was just like the four of us. We were partying on the weekends, drinking all the time. So like I very much had a balanced life of, happy teen partying with her friends versus, working really hard at school. And so I do think 12th grade was one of the best years school-wise of my life. And it just,
You
yeah,
accomplished. Look at that. That is incredible.
thank you.
I just think, like that's probably another thing where you go, well, that built a lot of my self-worth. My dad believed in me.
Yeah, it
So,
did.
and then it built into now you believe in you and anything is possible. And if you just put your mind to it, you can have everything that you want. That's
Yes.
amazing. Amazing, amazing. Well,
Yeah.
so like did you have any dreams and goals after you graduated? Like, this is what I want my life to look like? Or did you just
Um,
kind of go, well, what's the next thing I'm going to do?
for a long time, and I mean, still every now and then, but I always wanted to work in the field of psychology, whether it be, a therapist or a social worker. Like, I have always really enjoyed that mental health. I've been a huge advocate for a long time, but I really had a passion of photography. And so I ended up this and this is way beyond even psychology, but I actually started nursing later on in life, and I worked in the hospital, and I was an MA for a long time. So I did that, but I always came back to photography. So I had no plans, no nothing. I just wanted out of high school, and then straight out of high school I ended up getting pregnant. So, regardless of if I had dreams or not, I got pregnant. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, not to discount dreams because you can still have dreams even though you have a
Yes.
child, and it might be
Yes.
unexpected, but it does kind of go, okay, well, that's going to have to pause for a little while because I was traveling all over the world when I decided to have my daughter, and I have not traveled like I want to. I will, but yeah, it's a lot harder to do with kids.
Yeah. And looking back, I am so grateful for my kids. I mean, my daughter is a little mini me. I mean, she saved me 100%. Like, I think it was good for me to have some sort of responsibility over another human being because I was not very responsible with myself. So I think it
Yeah.
kind of helped me grow up. I don't know. And I mean, I'm still very immature and I know that and I'll embrace it, but I think I would not have grown up the way I did had it not been for my daughter. So it
Mhm.
is something I am very grateful for. I would never, I have no regrets. So
Yeah. You do not come across as immature to me. And
I'm
maybe
very
that's my own
immature.
immaturity. That's my own immaturity. I have no idea. But I feel like you, at least the way, and because you're so honest and everything else, I really don't think what you see is what you get online. So I
Yeah.
see you as somebody who works really hard, has dreams and goals, doing what you love, setting a good example, like you're really loyal to your friends.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I don't see you as immature. Like, I see a lot of okay, let me give you an example. I used to party so hard with these guys that we were all in the mortgage business. And so, like, these guys and girls that, like, and some of those people are still out there doing that, like, going to clubs, doing this
Yeah.
thing. Like, I can tell they're still partying on the weekends, like the way we used to when we were in our 20s and 30s. Now, I mean, you're still 32, but so, like, but these guys are older than me. They're in their
Yeah.
50s.
Yeah.
So to me, that seems immature. Like, stop, like, you don't have to keep living your life. But now, of course, I don't judge them, of course, because,
Yeah.
whatever floats your boat. If you want to
Yeah.
still party, okay,
That's
like
how
it's
I
not
feel.
affecting me in any negative way. But I just look at that and go, wow, you're still living that life. That's just crazy to me.
Yeah,
I
and
could never do that.
I'm still doing it on the side. So I think I
But
don't know.
listen, you're 30.
Yeah,
Do it. Live your life. Like, you have
I'm
like
trying.
so much more life to live. And, and plus who you are is adventurous. Who you
Yeah.
are is like, let's fly by the seat of our pants. And
Yep, that's exactly who I am.
Do it. Do it. Listen, especially because you only have one life.
Yeah.
Live it. Live it. You already know that if life falls apart for some reason, you know exactly what to do, where to get your strength, what to do next to get to the place where you want to be.
Yeah.
So just do it. Make your mistakes. Do your thing.
I'm trying.
Live your life.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Well, and you've put a lot of really cool safety nets down for yourself with your photography business. You can take that wherever you want to go. You can do your podcast wherever you
Yep.
want to go. You can write music and
Yeah.
record wherever you want to go. So like literally, you've got all the little stepping stones to like feel secure to go out and take a risk, do
Yeah.
something that's different or what have you. Yeah. Yeah. Girl, I look up to you.
Thanks.
You know? Yeah,
You
for
shouldn't.
real.
You should not. But
No.
that's great. I am honored that you do. That makes me
Well,
feel
I think
good.
there are a lot of people that will agree with me when I say that they wish they could be as adventurous as you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very adventurous, but I also wish that I had the power because I think sometimes I choose adventure over the logical thing to do. And so sometimes I do wish that I was a little more logical because I have put myself, even, I mean, to this day, I will put myself in situations where I just screw it all up. And that's not even me just like saying it. Like I make very dangerous choices sometimes. And dangerous is in like, financial hardship or, very stupid vacations that I can't afford, but I will do it because I do it and I choose to do it over safety. Like I've never had a savings. I've never been financially stable in my life. But I'm still choosing to live as if I am financially stable. And to be honest, I'm now looking into bankruptcy because I have been so stupid with my finances. So while it is great to be adventurous and fun and free and all of this stuff, I am really kicking, myself in the ass for some of the dumb things that I have done. And I wouldn't be in this place that I am now had I just, put myself into gear and, gone to work or made a little extra money or not spent money on a 2017 Jeep Wrangler when I had, so while it is great to be adventurous, I love it. I will never change. I do think that there is maturing that is to be had when it comes to like finances and raising my kids in a secure place because we have.
Well, you're saying it out loud.
I am saying it out loud.
That's one more thing that you put in your intention for the future is that, okay, I'm going to make a plan now. Now that I know that I've been here. And by the way, and let me just tell you this. Before I hit my rock bottom, I had bought a house, made a horrible decision with the kind of loan that I got into, but it was very popular at the time. Then the market crashed. It was 2008. I had to claim bankruptcy too. And just so you know, you can claim bankruptcy, which a lot of very professional people have.
Yeah.
And then recover from that, go on to buy your house, multiple homes. Like there are, if you ever just talk to a loan officer and ever want to buy a house or whatever, they will tell you, you can claim bankruptcy. Here's how much time it'll take for you to say, lenders to go, okay, well now you can qualify to buy a home again.
Yeah.
So like, it's never the end of the world to claim bankruptcy, and don't ever feel shame for that because that's life.
Yeah.
I did it. I had to claim bankruptcy, and then I went on to buy multiple homes later. So you're fine. You're going to be just
great. Fine. Which I know I'll be fine, and I've always felt that way. I just wish if I'd done things a little bit differently and set myself up a little more for success, like I wouldn't be here and I would have a house. At one point, I did qualify for a house to buy one by myself. But, things happened. I ended up spending money on different things. And so it's really hard to have been where I was to be where I am now. But Yeah, I
Well,
don't know.
listen, the ball bounces higher, the harder it hits the ground. When you hit that ground, you're about to like, honestly, you might have been in the best place and the financially, health-wise, everything. And then you're like, oh, well, now where am I? You're going to go so much further
Yeah.
because of
I'm
all the stuff
doing
that
well,
you've
but
experienced.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I already know. I can see it
Yeah.
now.
I'm
Like, you
doing
might not be
okay.
able to see it, but look at you. You have so much ahead.
Yeah.
Like,
That
I
means a
cannot
lot
wait.
because I feel like I'm in a hole right now. So,
It feels like that. It feels like that now, but yeah. No, I am so excited for you, to be honest.
thanks.
And, if you ever need anything, I'm here.
Thanks. The same
Just
to you. Same
ask
to
any
you.
questions you want, because I've been through a lot of the stuff that you've been through and are going through.
Buying or selling real estate isn't just a transaction, it's personal. And that's why I like to treat my clients like their family. I'm Deanna Powell with the Intrepid Home Team at Realty One Group, Orca Gold in Bellevue, Washington. With over 25 years of experience in negotiations, mortgage, title, and escrow, I deliver a true VIP client experience on every transaction, whether it's residential, luxury homes, or land. I listen first, negotiate fiercely, and protect your best interest every step of the way. With offices and partners in all 50 U.S. states, plus 30 different countries and territories around the world, you can be confident that your real estate needs will be met in every and any area you make your move. If you want expertise, integrity, and results, call me today, Deanna Powell, with the Intrepid Home Team, because every move deserves VIP treatment. I can be reached on my mobile phone 425-777-6998 or email me at team@intrepidhometeam.com. Or you can visit my website www.intrepidhometeam.com. That's spelled INTREPIDHOMETEAM.com.
Okay, so gosh, like, we got on a tangent a little bit.
We're
Where
still
were we?
straight out of high school. We haven't even
Yeah.
left high school yet. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My life is crazy.
Yeah, so you got pregnant
I
with
did.
your daughter?
Yep, with my daughter's dad. So we dated, and it was a silly story because I went into the doctors for a sprained wrist, and I came out finding out that I was pregnant. So
Surprise!
I had not planned it, and it was funny because at this time, I mean, we skipped forward a little bit, but at this time, my stepdad had met his now wife. She's amazing, but she was actually the MA who took care of me. And so my stepdad's girlfriend was the first one to find out that I was pregnant.
Wow.
And had to tell
Oh my
me. And
God.
then I called my dad, and I was crying because, I'm letting down my dad. I'm telling him I'm pregnant, even though I'm like well out of high school. And this was funny.
How old were you?
I would have been 18, 17,
Okay.
17, 18. And I will never forget this conversation, but I was like bawling on the phone, and I was like, I just found out I'm pregnant. I don't know what I was thinking. And he's like, you're was thinking. I was like, okay, that's fine, valid. But like, but I had moved out with my daughter's dad. I'd lived there for a little bit, and then my dad and his now wife, they moved into her house. And so me and my daughter's dad moved into my dad's house. And so we had a good little setup. We had a full house for $1,000 a month. Like, that is not even heard of these days. But so we had that, and I had my daughter. We lived there, and I ended up leaving her dad when she was, I don't know, November, 5-ish months old. We just weren't like, we're just much better as friends. So I think that, yeah, and I ended up leaving her, and I now starts the craziest years of my life.
Wow.
So
you were living with it. That's kind of nice to have your dad and your do you call her, because it's your dad and your stepmom?
I call her mom.
Okay.
I
So
will
your
call
dad
her mom.
and your mom.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So, but to have that support is so cool, and that they would
Yeah.
let you live there for super cheap
Yeah.
and
Well,
help them. And then
yeah.
they help you. It's so nice to have that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, as I had said, like my dad was the closest thing to a parent I had. Like he was my parent. And in high school, I mean, she went dress shopping with me for prom. She got my hair and my nails done. And so I think that was the first time I felt like a kid with parents. And so I am very grateful. Even to this day, we're so close. So
Nice.
I don't think they realize how grateful I am for them, but I am. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. So
yeah.
are you still kind of, you said you're better off friends. Do you guys co-parent
Yes,
your
we do.
daughter? You guys
Yeah.
friends? Everything's good?
Yeah, we're
That's
fine.
awesome.
We're fine.
Love that.
We actually live a few streets away from each other. It's nice because we're both close to my
Oh.
daughter's school at this point.
So nice.
So, yeah. And at the time, I had been like going back to right out of high school. I was working at Young Living. I was on their email and chat team because when I was pregnant, I was very sick with both of my kids. I almost feel like my body is like allergic to being pregnant because I had to have IVs 24/7. Like I ended up on a feeding tube. Had a home nurse. I was just so sick. And so I probably around 7 months pregnant, my team lead, she was one of my really close friends at the time. She put me on the home team, so I was doing email and chats from home so I could be on my IVs, while I'm on the computer. And I kind of carried that for a couple months. And then I ended up leaving her dad and I moved in with my supervisor and her husband. And we ended up in a three-way relationship for 4 years.
Oh,
Yep.
so polyamorous.
Yep.
Okay, so I have a few friends that have lived a relationship like that. So, I know about that. So how was that? Was that, that was new, was positive for you?
It was good until it wasn't. I think sometimes, she makes me angry, but he was a narcissist and very and very controlling, and that didn't come out until it did. And once it did, we were already, balls deep in the relationship. I loved his family. I loved her family. It was nice having 3 incomes, So, I mean, there were things, but like my family hated him and friends hated him. So I wish I would have listened a little more because this is probably like one of the darkest times in my life was this relationship. It was so bad. And
so it was dark because he was treating you poorly.
Yeah. But I also did the same thing. Like, I don't know what it was about him and I, but it was like fire and gasoline, like we just lit each other off. And I'm not one to be controlled. I don't know if we haven't realized that or not, but I think she was. I think she was a lot quieter and she didn't fight him back, but I did. And so we got into a lot of physical fights, but I was not just going to take it. I gave it. I gave it back. And so I think that was hard. I mean, we ended up having police come to our house all the time. Like, it was not a safe place for the kids. It was not a safe place for me. And I think this is really where my mental health dipped off, because I actually pretended. And I think about this a lot because in many ways I feel like I was just trying to escape whatever reality I was actually living. But I actually told myself that I had multiple personalities. And so I ended up telling them that I had multiple personalities. And I pretended to be like 7 different people for like a year and a half. And yeah, it's crazy to me too. Like, I can't even imagine thinking about it at this point. But I was hospitalized for this. And this was almost put on my mental health record. And I think I was just in such a low spot and being controlled so heavily that I didn't know what else to do. And I just blacked out. I haven't thought about it a lot because I'm over it at this point, but I think I wanted to be anything other than what I was, you know? And so for a long time, like I said, a year, I held this lie for like a year and a half that I was somebody completely different. And he did kind of back off me a little bit, you know? And so I think that that maybe was I don't know, a tactic or whatever, but I felt so crazy because he would always tell people I was the crazy one, and he wanted me to get medicated, and he wanted me to go to the hospital. But it sucked because there was always two of them and one of me. And so I was the one who was sent to the hospital. I was sent to the psych ward so many times because they said I was crazy. And I was like, I'm not crazy. He is manipulative, you know, but nobody can see that when you've got 2 against 1. And so that was really hard. And exactly 2 years after my daughter was born, so probably a year and a half into the relationship, I ended up having my son. And that was my son's dad. So we live and we learn. But that was the biggest mistake of my life, was being with them. So it was good. I would never judge. It was not the polyamory that was, you know, the downfall. It was definitely being in a relationship with a narcissist. So there's that. I'll put that on blast because I'm not even afraid to do it. And I don't know, it was a very hard subject for me. But towards the end of my pregnancy with my son, I was again very sick. It was the same thing. I had a feeding tube, and I happened to meet somebody else. I'm not going to say her name, but she was again my boss, my supervisor. I don't know what I had for females who had authority over me, but I definitely like to date them. So anyways, we were just friends at this time. At this time, I mean, my son is 8, so it would have been 8 years ago. And she hated the relationship I was in. She knew it was toxic. She would tell me all the time. And, you know, she was like, please call me if you ever need me. And one night, I mean, he out of me, and I did it back. I mean, he had pinned me down, and maybe like 15 minutes, and I was like pounding on the floor because we lived in like the second level of an apartment. And so I knew that if I pounded hard enough, they'd call the police again, you know. And I started screaming, I was pounding. The kids were in their bedroom, the door was shut, you know. So thankfully they never saw it. Like, it never happened in front of the kids. However, I was not a parent to them at this time. Like, I was just trying to survive. I feel so bad. I don't know. I feel really bad for my kids for very many different reasons. But anyways, and so, I mean, my nose was bleeding. I had, you know, blood all over my shirt. Like, this was the worst fight it had ever been. And I grabbed the kids. I got in the car and I called my friend. And from there on out, I lived with her. We ended up going through a nasty, you know, court battle of who should have the kids. And, you know, well, my son, because it was just his son. And I ended up getting full custody of my son. And this was crazy because at this time it was kind of ironic, but during court, he decided to say that he had multiple personalities and that he didn't know who he was at the time, and he had no control over his body when he was using me and all of these things. But he didn't remember he did not remember those things. He put it on court records that, you know, he didn't know. He had no control over his body. However, he remembered every little thing I ever did to him. So whilst his memory was very weak and mild, he remembered everything I did to him. And so it got pretty nasty back and forth. But he ended up on supervised visitations, and I ended up having my son. And at the time, my friend whom I was living with, she set me up with her cousin. And so I started dating her cousin. And we dated for like 3 years. I moved in with him. He had 2 kids. We had a house. We had bought cars together. And this was probably the most financially stable I had ever been. I was working. He was working. We were both very, I wouldn't say adventurous, but like entrepreneurial. I don't know the word. But like, we had a side business doing fulfillment for a company, and we hired people out to do that. And so we were making good money with that. I was working in the hospital at the time. I was working in the NICU, one of my favorite jobs. He was the manager of a warehouse. And so our kids were doing great. They were thriving. My kids were thriving. And so that was a pretty good couple years. And then I found out he was cheating on me.
Oh.
And so, and I'm thankful because he was way too vanilla for me anyways. Like we just were not compatible. I think we were good as friends. We, were good with our kids. We saw our kids. We were both very involved with our kids, but I do not think we were a good match. And it didn't take me till like being out of that relationship that I realized that was a thing, So I'm grateful that he decided to cheat on me with my aunt's sister-in-law. But I'm gonna call it out because I know it, and I hope she sees this, and I knew it. So
Well, there you go.
Yep.
Wow. Well,
I'll say her name. I'm just kidding. I won't, but I want to.
yeah. Well, and honestly, like we just learned so much about ourselves, about how the world works, certain things to trust, what not to trust, for instance, like I didn't even know what intuition was or even what that feeling was that when I got a bad gut feeling, because I was taught growing up in a very religious household, like don't trust that. So like if I had a question or anything like that, like I couldn't even ask questions about the religion I was in, or like, I don't know. I did not know how to listen to myself because even having feelings towards something was made to feel guilty for having. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but definitely I never ever was taught how to recognize red flags. A lot of it was just like abstinence, and there was no other education towards any of that. And just in a very patriarchal household, you just do what the man tells you to do.
Yeah.
So that's all that I'm even still, my mom is very submissive to my dad. And so being submissive to a man felt very natural to me. Yeah. And even if somebody's using you, you kind of just go, okay, well, and then forgive 70 times 7 and turn the other cheek. And it's just like, and blessed are the meek.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, it was very difficult for me just to learn how to stand up for myself. And I think that when just you telling the story of going through all of these things, all of these different relationships and hardships and learning what a narcissist is and all of that, those are important lessons to learn.
Yeah.
And you were learning these things as you were kind of younger.
Yeah. And I think it was really hard because I didn't realize it until I was already so far into it. I think that also is what gets people is a narcissist is never going to be like, hi, I'm a narcissist. Nice to meet you. Like we had already been in a really good, fun relationship for a year-ish before anything started, happening. And then once it started happening, you're like, okay, what is this? Because this is not normal. And then like you let it go, and then you're just stuck. And at this point, like I was not going to family things. I was not talking to my friends. And so it really is true that they completely isolate you from the entire world. I didn't really have close friends. I had stopped going to work for a long time. Like they had the cars, I didn't. And so I felt like I had nowhere to go. 2, I didn't have a car. I couldn't take care of my kids. And so if we weren't together, of course they're going to give my kids away to these people because there's 2 of them and there's 1 of me. However, I wish I would have known that was so wrong sooner because I would have done something sooner. But I definitely think while as unhealthy as it was for my kids, and I knew that I did stay for them because I was so scared that I had nothing. Like it was one
Yeah.
against two all the time. And up until the very end, I mean, they're divorced at this point. He's now been remarried twice,
Mhm.
but and he's a man of God now. So that's great.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. That is my favorite. He is a man of God. He is holding
Well,
steadfast in his beliefs of the Christ. But
now he gets to use God as a weapon
yeah.
and
So
blame it on him. And hey, he gets to be forgiven for everything, no matter what.
he has been forgiven
That's a
of
perfect narcissist
his
escape route.
transgressions. So
Yeah. Hey,
um,
and then also, and I love what you're saying about the red flags and the things that you've learned, because I think people will be able to relate, and then also you're going to help somebody know some of the red flags.
well, and it's hard because there's red flags at the carnival. Like the carnival is full of red flags. So I think that's also hard, that the most dangerous red flags often start off very fun and very thrilling and exciting. And
Well, and I think that it's important that if you don't see the red flags right away and you do find yourself a year or two in, and then all of a sudden all this dark starts coming out and you go, I wish I would have seen it sooner. That's pretty normal, because a lot of us have experienced being in a narcissistic relationship that way.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't that way in the beginning, and they were really good at love bombing and saying all the right things and stuff. Like there's no real way that you would have known some of this stuff unless you were really digging for it. And even then, they're so good at just covering all that crap up.
Yeah.
And then even knowing that the relationship after that he was going to cheat on you. You didn't see that coming. It wasn't really anyone's fault.
That
it was a
came
blessing
out of
in disguise.
left field to me, to be honest. Like I never would have saw it. Like never.
Yeah.
And then right towards the end of our relationship, it would have been November. We went on a trip for my aunt's birthday, and my aunt's sister-in-law was there, and she was on the phone the entire time we were there. We had gotten an Airbnb. She was on the phone with my boyfriend at the time. And I didn't find out that till later, but like I guess he was taking her flowers, he was taking her to lunch, and he was showing up, at my aunt's house at late hours of the night. And you know what? I will never forgive her for that, but you do you can have him. And they never worked out anyways. But I think he wanted that, but I don't think she did. I think she was just using him because she, was getting a divorce. She was struggling, and we had been helping her. And I think that is frustrating to me because she came to my house, like with all of us. And like we were trying to help her get through her divorce, and we were trying to help her sort through the papers and, give her all of this. And I was like, he just wanted her and she just wanted his money. So whatever.
Well, and you're better off after that, and everything.
I'm way better off.
Yeah, everything has its lesson.
Yeah,
I love that. There's a saying that I've had a few guests, and they've said the same thing, and I love it, and so I'm just going to repeat it. But instead of saying, "Why did this happen to me?" you say, "Why is this happening for me?"
Yeah.
Right. What in this lesson am I supposed to get out of it? And so I think that you've probably built up some really cool lessons that you're like, yeah, I'm never going to do that again. Now I know what to look for. Yeah. Maybe I'll never be for me personally, I'm just never going to be in a relationship again because I don't see the point of it, especially with all the risk. Now, I mean, it would have to be a very, very slap me across the face, obvious.
Yeah.
Like this is so good and so easy and so and I just don't, it's never been that way for me. Nothing has ever been easy for me. Yeah. So I feel safe in my safe place and my safe zone by myself.
See, and
I can count on
I
myself.
envy that. I wish that I did because I don't. I don't like being alone and I crave connection. And I think that also has put me in some relationships that I should not have been, but I just didn't want to be alone. And going back to what things, taught me as opposed to why did this happen to me after I left his house, that was the first time ever in my entire life that I had lived on my own. And so it did force me to grow up more because I got my own apartment. I mean, overnight, and we had built ourselves up. Like I said, financially, I was set at this point. Like, we were so financially stable, and I had built my credit up. So my credit was beautiful. Like, I left that relationship and I wish I would have stayed financially where I was. But I moved in, overnight to an apartment with just me and my kids, a 1-bedroom apartment, because that's what I could afford. I was working, and this was over COVID too. So it was kind of crazy times, especially working in the hospital during COVID. Like, the pay was amazing, but it was so hard because it was just so busy. And I mean, all of the PPE that you had to wear. And so, moving during COVID and having my kids be so isolated out of school. They had trying to decide if you want to go to school or not, and, not having sitters because people weren't going to school and teachers weren't coming. And it was a really hard time, but I got in on my own, and then starts a new chapter of this beautiful story.
Well, and how did that make you feel to be on your own and to know that you could do it? Like I can actually do this on my own, even though it feels a little bit like stressful, not a little bit, it's a lot bit stressful, let me tell you, especially financially, because now you're the sole income earner, and and you're responsible for these kids. I totally get that part. But at the same time, when you're paying your rent, you're getting your food, and you can do it. You can.
And I felt good until I didn't, because I think I felt too good. And, I started sleeping around again. I started, this is really when I started back my party days of, because when the kids were gone, I was by myself and I was now single, which I hadn't been in years. I had not been single in years at this point. And so I had met a group of people at the bar, which, I mean, they were amazing people, really good, hardworking people. But there was like 50 to 70 of us. There was a lot of us. And so we'd bounce from bar to bar. We'd do karaoke. We'd go to concerts together. We would go to each other's houses and, do things. Like, it was a very good group. It was like Utah Singles at the time, like we were a very good group of people. And I just got in with them. At this time, I started doing OnlyFans. That's what I started doing, and I started selling pictures of myself online because I made good money doing that. This was really hard for me, but my son's dad ended up subscribing to my OnlyFans. And not only once, not twice, but 4 profiles was his. And this is crazy to me because he was paying to me. He was paying for my and he was paying for all of this stuff. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. And he ended up taking me to court for custody of my son because I had an OnlyFans. And don't pick your jaw off yet, because he actually got custody of my son. And I cannot see my son at this point unless it is supervised. And
because of OnlyFans?
Yes. And that is
How
probably...
does that put your son at risk? I'm curious.
Because it does. Because he has no idea who, what monsters are coming to my house and whatnot. And I was like, no, nobody's coming to my house. And 2, you make up 90% of my subscribers, buddy. And I had so we had gone to court. It was this huge thing and it was nasty. And we had already gone to court before. And I was mad that, we were even doing this, especially, and, and at this point he had divorced his first wife and he had been remarried. And, him and his new wife, churchgoers. He's a man of the Lord now, you know. And
Oh my God.
I lost my son. I lost custody of my son, and that to this day is the hardest thing I think that has ever happened to me. Like, no question about it. Like, even aside from losing my mom, having as parents, like as a child, like losing my son, because before that, I mean, his dad was put on supervised visits and had disappeared for like a year. So from the day he was born to the day he was taken from my front door, like he had been mine, like he was my boy. And so that was.
And how old was he when he went to his dad's?
He would have been around like 3, almost 4. And so he's 8 now. He just turned 8. So it's been 4 years, and I've seen him a handful of times. And I am so bitter about it. I'm not even going to lie. Like, I was so mad that you can go from, saying you have multiple personalities and being accused. I mean, this man went to jail for domestic and mischief in the presence of a child. And I have no record. I have nothing. And I was selling online. I'm not even gonna lie. But
I don't see how that makes you a bad parent.
You know what? And my lawyer said if we were anywhere other than in Utah, that court would have been very different. So, it boggled me, because the things that he was saying was dangerous. That's who he was. Like, he was the one who was talking to me on the internet. He was the one who was buying my stuff. And, when I showed these court documents, because of the previous, we had mutual restraining orders. And so he was not supposed to be on any of my social media. We were not supposed to have any contact outside of like, hey, I'm here to pick up Riker. It's curbside pickup. Like, at the time, the boyfriend I had just left, he would be the one to interact with or drop off pickup, because we couldn't do it. And so I had pulled out our restraining order, and I actually sent it to OnlyFans, and I said, hey, we are going to court for this. I sent them our court documents, and I said, look, this is what is going on. I need to know which accounts are his or under the same card. I know there's, HIPAA or whatever privacy laws, but this is a legal issue that I'm dealing with. And 4 of my accounts were hooked to the same card of his. And he had told the court that he was, keeping an eye on for my son. And I was like, me at 1 a.m. has nothing to do with our son.
Right.
And so we ended up, I lost that battle, and I lost my son. So that, and I have so much.
Not forever. Let's just put it out there. That's not forever.
It's not, but and a lot of people will say that to me, that he will come back, and I know that he will, but it sucks because I didn't see his first day of school. I wasn't with him, like when he lost his first tooth or all of these things, but like I missed every part of it. I went to his kindergarten graduation because his dad decided to let me know when that was, but other than that, like I have completely missed who my son is. And because I rarely see him, he's like a new person every time I see him. So I'm so proud of him, and he's growing and learning and all of these things, and he seems to be thriving, but he's not my boy. He is not my boy that left me. And it also breaks my heart for him, because all he knows is that I'm not there. Like I can tell him I love him every couple of weeks when I see him, but does it mean anything because I'm not there? And and that's how I felt as a kid, because I mean, my parents, would tell me they loved me all the time, but no, you didn't, and so while I know it's not forever, it doesn't necessarily make it better, because I am missing so much now. And I mean, I have just so much hate and anger in my heart for the whole situation. To be honest, I hate his dad more than Satan if he exists, you know, but for true. And that was really hard. And so I had lost custody of him, and I called my grandma. I said, you need to take Aubrey right this minute. I don't know when I'm coming to pick her back up, but I am not okay. I laid on the bathroom floor and I just cried, and I drank until I couldn't even function. Like, I couldn't speak, I couldn't see, my brain was shutting off, and I stayed on the bathroom floor for like 7 days straight. I didn't even move. Like, I completely lost myself when I lost my son. And so I started, I definitely picked back up going to the bar a lot, for not just karaoke anymore, like I became an alcoholic, and I was drinking all the time. I still had my daughter. I eventually, went and picked her up. I think it had been about a month. And I had saw her every now and then, but I took her, but I feel really bad because while I lost my son, my daughter lost her mom. And that is so hard for me to like wrap my head around, because she also lost her mom, So while I was trying to navigate losing my son and parenting my daughter, I almost had this blockage of like, I don't want to parent anymore, which was not fair to my daughter. And at this point, like, I had not had therapy. I had not, dealt with previous things, but I just kept going because that's what you do. But it has been so hard parenting after losing my son and feeling that, like, what is the point? I have thought about that to myself so many times, and even to this day, like, she'll ask me, like, when is Riker coming home? And, all of this stuff. And I'm like, I'm doing whatever I can, but to be honest, there's nothing I can do. I have tried to fight. I've gone to court twice to fight it, and every time it's just, they don't even look twice at me. And so this is unfortunately something that I spent, I don't know, it was so hard. But at the time, so going back before he was gone, when we, were going to court, I had a savings. I had really I was set up to, qualify for a house. I had, they're like, if you have this, whatever, all of that. And I had to spend so much money for court in one day. I think I took out like 8 payday loans in one day just to pay for it. And then those payments, were like $2,500 alone a month. That wasn't even counting like my rent, my bills, my car, anything, like just that. And so that is really where I financially myself, was taking out all of those loans. But I didn't do it in a place of like, tomfoolery. I just wanted my son. And if I went back, I would do it again. Yeah. But now I haven't stopped those patterns and I haven't stopped spending money like I have a lot of it. So that was really, really hard for me to lose my son. And so moving forward, like I said, I became an alcoholic. I was drinking all the time. I started sleeping around. And because I lost my son due to OnlyFans, I haven't touched it since. I completely stopped doing anything. I, deactivated my account. I have never, sold or done anything like that again, because it's just not worth it for me. And I wish that I could take it back, because I would still have my son. And
and by the way, like you said, any other place than Utah,
it would have been very different.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have even blinked an eye. And
no.
And I was just baffled because of, just a year earlier, we had gone to court for very opposite things. Like, he was on trial for being He was the narcissist. He was the one on supervised visitation. He was the one who disappeared and had nothing to do with my son for like a year. And it's like, you're literally going to swoop in and take all rights away. I have no rights to my son. Like, I have none.
That is astonishing
I have
to me.
no say in anything
And
of my son.
It's not just you that they've hurt. They've hurt your daughter too.
And my son. And
he lost her brother.
Yeah.
That she was used to having in the house.
And he lost his mom. And I tried to tell them because
he lost his mom.
He changed his pediatrician. He changed his preschool. He changed everything about it. And I told them, I said, his pediatrician has never seen his dad once. And I guarantee you he's going to change him. And then he tried, putting him on all these medications, saying that he had ADHD and all these things. And I said, to be honest, I don't want him being treated for behavioral issues. And I told his nurse this. So he's supposed to tell me in our court documents, he has to tell me about medical visits and whatever. And I am allowed to be there. So I showed up and they were talking about, his behavior in school. And I ended up pulling the doctor aside afterwards. And I told him, I said, to be honest, we are going through a really hard time. Like, he just completely had his entire world shifted upside down. And this boy that I was seeing in this room who's having all of these problems, he was never having these problems. He was such a sweet boy, and he still is. He's a very sweet boy, but he was not having these behavioral issues. And I told her, I said, he was just taken from my house and we had CPS involved, and this is what is going on. And, he changed his doctor. Like, I'm sure you're great, but he has a pediatrician who knows him, who has known him his entire life. And, he had a preschool of friends. He has my family. And the doctor was like, I had no idea. And I said, yeah, I know. And that's why I'm telling you, because his dad's not going to tell you that. And so, ever since that appointment, I've never been told of another doctor's appointment. And his doctor changed after that. So he was again changed.
Now, can you take him to court for not holding to his end?
The thing is,
he's in violation, isn't he?
I have taken him to court twice now, and they haven't even blinked an eye at me. Like, it is a whole mess, and I could get into a whole tangent about this whole situation because it's just freaking garbage. But it's essentially just locked in at this point. Like, there is nothing I can do at this point. And I think it is really hard for me because I can only see him supervised every other weekend. I can see him for 4 hours on Saturday and 4 hours on Sunday. And I will go a long time without seeing him because it's hard to, one, it's dumb because his dad has to approve the supervisors. And so obviously if there's going to be someone, available to supervise, he's going to say no. Or if I have something going on, like a family party, I'll be like, hey, so-and-so can supervise, but, instead of this time, can I please have him at this time? And he'll be like, that doesn't work for me. And so on top of him being so controlling, I think he's just eating it up because it's almost impossible to see my son sometimes because, one, I can't find a supervisor that he'll say okay to, and two, anytime I make something work, he makes it impossible. And so, he'll tell me all the time, like, you don't consistently see your son and all of this stuff, but sometimes it's easier just not to even try. And so I hate that it has gotten to that point, but there has been, months of spans where I just haven't seen him because, one, my mental health can't take it. I can't handle, his dad constantly being all up in my business and telling me what I can and cannot do, and the power that man still has over me. I don't think people realize how hard that is. And so while it has been so hard to not see my son, it's even harder seeing him on top of being so heavily controlled by somebody who took everything from you. So that is something I am currently dealing with and trying to navigate because I just can't. And my mental health just tanked. My mental health has not been the same since. So.
Well, your feelings are valid.
Thank you.
I mean, if I put myself in your shoes, I would feel the same exact way. And the fact that you did get up from the bathroom floor and you did go and pick your daughter up, and you're moving forward, putting one foot in front of the other, says a lot about your strength through such a hard situation. And
Yeah.
it's not like it's going to end anytime soon. Your son is 8.
Yeah.
There's like 10 more years of this
We've got forever to
that
go.
you're going to have to walk through, right?
Yeah.
Unless something happens where someone can step in and say, no, I know a legal this, or can come and help advocate for you.
Yeah.
And maybe just telling your story might open a door somehow, some way.
Maybe. I don't know.
Put it out there.
We'll put that to the universe. But
We'll put that out there too.
I have
Yeah.
tried. I have tried twice and failed. And financially, I just can't try again. I have not been in a. That took everything I had financially. So
I get it.
That was.
Yeah.
That was really
And you know
rough.
what? Your son will know that you tried.
Yeah.
Your son will know, even though there might be, because of mental health breaks and what have you, he might not understand why it's, there have been a couple months here and then a couple months there, and maybe your ex is trash talking you, but just even seeing this part of your story, maybe online, one day he'll see this episode and know that you really did try. You tried.
Yeah, I did. And
and there's no reason why he should have been taken from you in the first place, period.
Yeah, 100%. And it mind boggles me because they took my son, but they left my daughter. And so, so when you think of that, like, obviously I'm very grateful. And I'm not like, hey, come take my daughter too. But
right.
Like, why? You didn't even care to look into my daughter or her safety if you felt like my son was so
that is a very good point.
Unsafe. The only difference was he has a narcissistic dad who loves control and didn't stop until he got it. And I think he knows that he got it. And
it's not fair.
No, it's not. And it never will be. And I will never be okay with it. And I'm very petty when it comes to that because I don't want to pay child support. I'm supposed to pay child support, and, as illegal as it is, I have not, because they're married, they're financially doing fine. I am, barely making rent, having to ask the bishop for help sometimes because I can't do it. And I'm like, it just makes me so hateful when I think of being behind on child support because I'm like, I don't want to pay you anything because you took my son. And, when my son comes to my house for visits, like, he is taken care of. He has what he needs. I'll buy him clothes if he needs clothes because when I don't see him for a long time, he grows up, and so, like, my son I know he's taken care of as much as I hate it, but I feel a lot of hate and anger. And so that has also accrued a lot of debt, is child support and garnishments from being forced to pay that, which, I think everybody should pay child support, but I feel a little different about this situation because you guys are financially stable. I am not. And
you shouldn't be paying child support in the first place.
Especially if my rights are completely taken. Like, my son never should have been taken from me. I don't care. Like, I wouldn't, like, we went from...
None of that makes any sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to anybody except for, I guess, the judge and him. So, yeah, it's garbage.
I have a few other people that I've interviewed that it does not make any sense why this other person gets to have all the legal benefits of something that is so clearly illegal.
Yeah.
And other than just having the money, money talks.
Yeah. This man
and it's not
get
fair.
And the thing that's crazy is he used a free lawyer, which is fine, whatever, but I couldn't use the same facility. And so I couldn't use our area's legal help system because that's what he was using already. And we couldn't have the same legal team. And so, you know, he was getting all of the free stuff and all of this and all of that. And I was, you know, this man could get away with murder. I truly feel like he would get away with murder. And a lot of people, I think it was my grandma actually, so it's not just me, but she compares him a lot to Josh Powell. If you were to think of, he is very smart. He is very quiet. He is very discreet about his
That's kind of
angers.
scary, actually.
Yeah, it is very scary. And if you were to put it, it's kind of funny how they look alike too. I'm not even gonna lie, but like, if you were to compare them side by side, they are very similar. But
Oh my God.
have no fear, because he is a man of God now. He goes to church. He was, you know, he's married to a woman of the Lord. And she is, I will say this, she is very kind. My son really likes his wife. He has a new little brother with, you know, she brought a boy into the relationship. And so I am very grateful for her. She is kind to my son. My son loves her. My son loves his little brother. So I will not discount that. But I do wonder what their relationship is like, because now, since we have not been together, I mean, he's been married, divorced, and remarried now. So he's been married 3 times at this point. And I just hope that, you know, I hope that he really has turned around for her sake and for my son's sake, because that's where my son growing up.
And if that isn't like, that's so mature of you to say, and honestly, that's the best we can do, is hope for the best.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you're in a situation like this, but every time you say that, I'm just like, oh God.
No, but it's like, it's so true in Utah though. Like, he is a man of God. And the thing is like, he is now on a pedestal because he goes to church, and
anybody can say that. Listen, Ted Bundy, you want to know, Ted Bundy, come on. Ted Bundy in jail found God. And now all of a sudden he gets to go to heaven, but all the people he murdered did not, according to the faith. And it's just like, anyway.
I could go on and on about it.
No, me too. Let's not, because that's a whole tangent. You just being so transparent, and it's such a gift that you're sharing this, such a brave story to tell.
Thanks.
And I just want you to know that you're not alone. This isn't the end of the story, because there's going to be so much more story. Like I told you, claim bankruptcy, get your footing under. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
There's a lot.
Well, and listen, look at how talented you are. You have this beautiful photography, videography business. Your music is amazing. I've heard it, and I think you're so talented. That alone could take off. Your podcast is so entertaining, and I love listening to it. It's only 2 episodes in, and I already just love it.
Thank you.
And you're just going to do amazing things. And you can call them mistakes. You can call them that you things up. But honestly, we learn from our mistakes. We learn from the things mistakes, truly. These decisions that you've made are not even that, you know, and people tell me the same thing. Oh yeah, you think that's just maybe a bad decision, but it's not like you made such a horrible mistake, you know, like that you can't figure something out from it. And it sucks. This is life. Life sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Your life, particularly in certain ways, really fucking sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
So, I mean, yeah, it really does. But what these things have happened, what is it that has been for you to learn? And I think it's such a good question to ask, because they have happened to you. But something in this, the lesson that is in this is for you, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, it will be. I do know that, even if it's not right now. But I think the biggest thing I've learned is, while I am very much a victim in, you know, several circumstances, I also have the power to hurt people. And I think more often than not, people will say, well, this happened to me, this happened to me. Like, okay, that's fine. That's a reason, but that doesn't excuse your behavior. And I have also done my fair share of hurting people and making choices because of where my mental health was and falling victim, this mindset where everybody owes me or pity me because all of this stuff. And for a while, I just completely lost myself. Like, there's so much more, but I ended up abusing somebody. I was the abuser. And that really hurts, knowing that I let myself get so low to my rock bottom that I turned around and did everything that people did to me, to somebody that I still really care about.
If today's story moved or inspired you, please take a moment to share this episode with someone who needs a spark of courage. Your 5-star rating and short review help these brave, courageous, and resolutely fearless stories reach even more hearts. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss an episode of Intrepid Storytelling. Thanks for listening.